is right around the corner. I can't believe it. I still feel like I got home from Miami yesterday. I can't believe I'm going back in a few days. And with me going back in a few days, public schools and grade schools are starting back up within the next couple weeks. So here to talk to us about that, we have the new principal at Sheiko Elementary School, Ashleigh Larkin. Good morning. How are you? Congratulations on this new position.
Hi, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So let's talk a little bit about this new position, because in the past few years since I was in high school, you have really just done everything. So how did you go from being head of schools at Oakland Early College to now the new principal at Sheiko Elementary? Talk about this transition a little bit.
Sure. So, to start, it's a transition that I'm really excited for. I have absolutely loved being in West Bloomfield School District. So I started my career here 11 years ago and was at the high school for quite some time and then moved to OEC. And obviously, being at the high school and being at OEC, I worked with all secondary students, so grades 9 through 13 at OEC. And then with the restructuring in the district and the promotions of Sonia James at Sheiko and Scott Long at Doherty to central office, it opened up 2 elementary positions in the district. And so it was an opportunity to really, try something new. And I'm really excited to be in a new spot with a new grade level. And so I'm just really looking forward to the start of the school year.
Yeah. So your experience for the past 11 years, which, wow, I cannot believe it's been that long that you've been around. You're so young still. It is crazy. But that just shows you have so much further even to go in your career. So this is so exciting for you. I'm so excited for you. But you've worked mostly with 14 to 18-year-olds. So what does it mean to you to now be working with elementary schoolers? Is that something that you have had experience with in the past, or is it completely new for you? And what does that mean to you?
So I haven't had direct experience with it. The closest I've had experience with working with elementary students is when I taught my student leadership class at the high school. We did something called Elementary Connections. And so our leadership classes would go to the different elementary schools and we would go into the classrooms and work with the students. And we also started a program at the high school. Really, it was spearheaded by Pat Watson and Lisa Tompkins, Ron Bellamy, and some others, called Game Changers, where we had high school mentors going to different elementary schools and working side by side with students. So in terms of working directly with elementary students, that really has been the extent of my work up to this point. The way that I look at it is kids are kids. And they have different needs at different times. But no matter what, I'm someone who's kid-centered, who believes in students and believes that no matter what age, we have a responsibility to form relationships with them, get to know them, help them grow socially, emotionally, academically. And so it's a different age group for sure. I'll be exploring, a lot of different things that my students are interested in and getting to know them, which is really exciting for me. But I think one of the great things about having that secondary experience first is that I know ultimately where we want to get students in West Bloomfield School District. So just knowing, where students go at that point, I've seen the end of their educational journey in the district. And so it's exciting to know that I can bring that expertise and knowledge and help mold them from grades 3 through 5 all the way on up. And then in addition to that, we have an amazing staff here at Sheiko. And so I know I have a ton to learn, but I am relying very much on their support. And I know that they will help me learn the ropes at the elementary level.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention it, and you definitely have a great perspective, almost working backwards, where you've seen the end, you've seen our students graduate and go off to college, and now you get to work with them in the building phase to get them to that point, and you know what they can look like. So you definitely have a vision that educators wouldn't be able to have if they started working with this grade level at the very beginning. But with that, at this point in time, what are your main goals for this position? What things do you want to implement that maybe we haven't seen in the past at the elementary school level?
Great question. So, the first things first, I will say it's going to be a very, I think, different but exciting year than what we've had in previous years. I think we learned a lot from last year. And so, the first thing is going to be, how are we supporting students socially and emotionally in school as well as staff? We've had a long, when you said actually that it's Friday the 13th in August, it made me think, oh my gosh, it's actually 18 months to the day that we went out because of the pandemic. And so I just think that number one is going to be, how are we supporting all of our individuals within the school building as they're returning to a school year where we're 5 days a week, full-time in person. So that's ultimately going to be number one. Building relationships. Relationships are at the heart of everything we do. So building relationships with the students, with the staff at Sheiko, with the Sheiko families and community. So that will definitely be a priority. And then just really evaluating where we're at academically and how we're helping our students grow. Looking at how we're planning lessons based on state standards and bringing in different learning targets. And so those will be my three major focus areas for the school year.
So I know personally one thing that you've always been very good at and put a lot of time and effort into is the personal relationships you have with your students. And it's been definitely a different experience. Like we talk about working with different age groups. Obviously, you're able to relate more with some of the older teenagers than you will be with these younger kids as young as 5 years old. But I would think that that's something you're very passionate about, and you're definitely going to want to have these independent relationships still with students. So have you thought at all about how you're going to try to relate to these students on a level that you would with older students, but knowing that they're 5 to 10 years old? I'm thinking, is that the elementary school age, right? Something like that?
Yeah, so Sheiko's a 3rd through 5th grade building. So they're a little bit older than the kindergarten kiddos. But I think first and foremost, no matter what the grade level, I think building relationships starts with learning about each individual student. So what do they like? What are their interests? What's their favorite thing to eat? I mean, what are they watching on TV? What type of music do they like? So for me, it's going to be that visibility. It's going to be getting into classrooms and working with students one-on-one as they're working with their teacher and just really learning and getting to know about them. My daughter is 3 now. So I think one of the exciting things for me is I'm kind of walking this journey with her. And I think I'll be able to, as she grows older, relate even better to my students at Sheiko. But no matter what age, again, I really think it just comes down to being visible, talking with students constantly in the classroom, in the hallway, at recess, being there, for bus drop off or car drop off to say, how's your morning? How you doing? Is there anything I can help you with? So those are really going to be the most important things that I think I'm doing. And I think all of our staff are doing to start the school year.
Yeah. And you are taking over this position from Sonia James, who's been in the district for a very long time. I know she was my principal back in middle school, which seems like so long ago now. But what has your dialogue been with her up until this point about what the position is like and what it will be like? What's some insight that she's given you?
Yeah, first of all, she's absolutely amazing. I'm so happy that she will still be in the district and that I can call on her as needed for advice and support. She has been nothing but supportive in this transition. Her and I have been able to meet, and she has walked me through, certain things that I need to know. But I think one of the amazing things and wonderful things about Ms. James is that she's a relationship person. I mean, she is so relationship driven and knows that is what really needs to happen in order for everyone to build a team and to function well together. And so I think that that's been the ultimate advice, is just being out there and getting to know everyone on a personal level, not just a surface level. And so, like I said, that's really my number one goal. And I'm so happy to have her support still. She's a wonderful resource, and I know she'll be amazing in her new position. So really glad that she's still in the district to help support our journey.
That is fantastic. So I like to avoid conversations about COVID as much as I can at this point. I want to talk about other things going on, new and exciting things. But unfortunately, it's inevitable that it has to come up a little bit. So we got the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Hill yesterday, and we talked about the protocols with mask mandates. And we know that at this point, there are no requirements on students wearing masks. It's highly encouraged, but not required. But just this morning, in our headlines, we have that the CDC and Governor Whitmer announced that administration is recommending, and pediatricians, that all students do wear masks. And like I said, this was just this morning we're reading this, so I don't know if any of you administrators in the district have even had the opportunity to talk about this yet, but what are your thoughts going into this school year with mask wearing, is that something that you're going to enforce, or is it only Dr. Hill enforcing it, and then each, with that, every teacher and every person can make their own decisions? What's that going to look like for you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And, things are changing so rapidly. And every day I feel like we're hearing new information. And so that's what I love about the district plan, is that it allows for flexibility. At the level that we're at, it is mask strongly recommended, but there also is a recommendation that the district will consider a mask mandate if the data supports it at that time. And so we haven't heard any updates yet based off of what came out this morning, but that option is in there. And I think that that's one thing we learned from this entire last year that we just experienced, is that we have to have the option for flexibility. To just say that it's going to be one way or the other, sometimes we made a decision and then 3 days later, new information would come out and we were changing the plan based on that new information. So to have the flexibility, I think, is really important. Again, like you said, at this level, mask wearing is strongly encouraged. And so that's what we'll do. We will strongly encourage that for all staff and students. And that's where we're at right now. So as time goes on and more information comes out, I believe and trust in the district wholeheartedly to make the best decisions for our staff and our students and families.
Yeah. So on to some of the more fun things of being in elementary school and getting to be back in person and forming those essential relationships that you really can't build anywhere else, especially when you're that young. You're not driving over to your friend's house after school. So that time you have in the classroom is so, so important. But one thing that I do have very fond memories of from when I was in elementary school is after school programs that I would do. I know I would do like soccer clinics or dance, theater classes, stuff like that, just, once a week, hour long after school. Is that stuff being brought back, or is that on hold still?
Yeah. So first of all, I love that you have fond memories of that. That just makes me so excited to hear that you still remember those times. So those things are absolutely essential. And I think it's really important for community building that we're still hosting events like that. And so we will be doing some of those events, as long as everything is allowing for them to happen. But we do have a wonderful PTO. PTO has already coordinated. We have skate nights on the calendar and some different activities that will be taking place each month. So as long as our current status health-wise supports us doing those things, we will absolutely do those things, because like you said, they're really essential to that full elementary experience.
Yeah. And something even more essential for students, what about, this is something I don't know a lot about, you're going to help me because I never was involved in it, but after school kids club, for those who might have parents now that are working again and can't be there to pick them up, or even if they take the bus home, aren't home, and kids at this age can't stay home by themselves. Is kids club still going to be, or not still, but is Kids Club back this year? And if so, what hours does it go to? Is it, I know it used to be in the morning before school also. How's that going to look?
Yeah, so it is back, and we are running it before school and after school. And we were fortunate enough to be able to do that last year as well. So that will still be in place. I know something did go out to parents that if they needed that option, they could sign up for that. So we will definitely have Kids Club running, and that will be an option for our families that need it.
What about lunches? I feel like, now that I'm thinking about it, we talk to educators all the time, but I haven't really asked anyone about this in a while. Obviously, that's a place where no one's going to be wearing masks while they're eating, so that could, if anywhere, there would be more transmission, hopefully not, but in the cafeteria than anywhere. Is the lunchroom experience still the same, where people can buy lunch, bring lunch? What is that going to look like?
So our students will be able to purchase hot lunch or bring their lunch from home. And then what we will be doing, we're still solidifying our plans. So I just want to make that clear. But, where our mindset is right now is that we'll have one grade level at a time at lunch, and they'll be divided in half. So half of that grade level will be out at recess while the other half is in the cafeteria eating. And that will allow us to safely socially distance our students at lunch. And then they'll flip. So that's our current plan or our line of thinking right now, but we haven't 100% solidified that plan. And as soon as we have those details, that will be going out to our families.
Yeah. So because it was just last month that you were named as the new principal of Sheiko Elementary, I'm sure you spent the first half of this summer planning with Oakland Early College. So how did you kind of transition or just scratch all the other plans to then working on this? Or do you take some time off at the beginning of the summer to actually relax and enjoy summer vacation? Or as an administrator, is that not really something you get to do? Do you have to work year round?
So, we do work year round, but we have some vacation days we can take as needed. So I'll be totally honest with you. It's been tricky the last 2 summers to take vacation, just with COVID and how busy everything has been. So, I was very fortunate to take a week off in July and be with my family. But that was about the extent of the time that I spent off. Other than that, I'm thankful to have a relationship with Mr. Borders, who took over at OEC, and to know him. So him and I worked together when we found out that we were both transitioning, and, we worked on a plan for what had already been discussed at OEC and kind of where he needed to take that. And he ran with that on his own, and I know he'll do great things there. And so just like I was able to meet with Miss James, I was able to meet with Mr. Borders, and we filled each other in, on what was happening. So, and then thankfully I'm still in the district too for support. So if he has any questions, I know he'll reach out to me.
Well, it's great to hear that all of you who have been within the district are still there on a team helping each other out. So as much as there's some repositioning, it's the same group of people that you guys have been working with for a while and definitely all have each other's backs. I've always loved the dynamic, even when I was in high school, just between you and Mr. Pierce, Mr. Pace, Mr. Watson. It was always such a team effort, and I loved seeing that. So I'm glad that that's something that continues throughout the whole district, not just at the individual school level. It's been so nice talking to you this morning. I actually forgot until you mentioned that you have a 3-year-old daughter, so that is so exciting, so sweet. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we let you go this morning?
No, I'm really excited for this school year. I think it's going to be such a great opportunity for us to try new things that we learned in this last year. And so I know that there's some anxiety and the unknown and what's going to happen, but I think getting students back in person 5 days a week is so important. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them and seeing their smiling faces and getting to know them. And it's so awesome to see you in this role too. So congrats, you're doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Congratulations again to you on everything and everything you've been through and accomplished in the past 4 years since you were a social studies teacher at the high school. So